The sound of his footsteps above me stopped 3 weeks ago. For 40 years, I heard those same heavy steps padding across my kitchen floor at 2 a.m., searching for food, the refrigerator door opening, the microwave beeping, then back down to the basement where my son had built his entire world. I'm 82 years old. My hands shake when I pour coffee now. My knees creak when I climb stairs. But on that Tuesday morning, when I found myself staring at the basement door for the 100th time, something inside me finally broke. Not in a sad way, in a way that set me free. You want to know what it feels like to enable someone you love to death? It tastes like guilt every morning with your cereal. It smells like disappointment seeping through the floorboards. It sounds like excuses you've made so many times. Your own voice starts to disgust you. David moved into my basement when he was 28. "Just until I get back on my feet, Mom," he said. His wife had left him. His job had fallen through. He needed help with the kids' custody payments. What mother wouldn't open her door? 12 years later, those kids had grown up visiting their father in their grandmother's basement. 12 years of watching him order food to my address. 12 years of his friends coming and going at all hours, treating my home like their personal clubhouse. I enabled it all. Every excuse, every broken promise, every time he said he was working on something big. I paid for his phone bill when he said he needed it for job interviews. I bought groceries when his food stamps ran out. I even gave him my old car when it broke down and watched him sell it 3 months later for cash. The basement started to smell different over the years, not just musty, but stale, like dreams that had died and been left to rot. The carpet down there turned gray from years of spilled food and neglect. The walls grew dark stains that I pretended not to see. His kids stopped coming around when they turned 16. They were embarrassed, you see. Their friends would ask, "Where does your dad live?" And they'd have to say, "In my grandmother's basement." One day, his daughter Sarah called me directly. She was crying. "Grandma," she said, "why don't you make him leave? He's never going to grow up if you don't." That night, I lay in bed listening to him down there, playing video games until dawn, the controller buttons clicking, 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 like a clock counting down to nothing. I realized I wasn't helping him. I was burying him alive, and I was burying myself right alongside him. The morning I decided to evict him, I woke up at 5 a.m. The house was finally quiet. I made myself coffee with hands that barely shook at all, and I sat at my kitchen table looking at the papers I'd printed from the library computer the day before. Legal eviction notice, 30 days. My heart hammered against my ribs like a caged bird. This was my baby. I had nursed him through fevers, stayed up nights helping him with homework, cheered at every baseball game. How do you evict your own child? But then I thought about Sarah's voice on the phone. I thought about the past 12 years of my life, tiptoeing around my own home, making excuses to friends who stopped visiting, watching my savings drain away $50 at a time. I thought about what I would tell his father if he were still alive. Would I say, "Honey, I kept our son safe"? Or would I have to admit I kept him small? When David finally came upstairs that afternoon, rubbing sleep from his eyes at 3 p.m., I was sitting at the kitchen table with the papers in front of me. "What's that, Mom?" he asked, opening my refrigerator like he had every right. "Eviction notice," I said. My voice came out stronger than I expected. "You have 30 days. He laughed. Actually laughed. "Mom, come on. Don't be dramatic. What did I do now?" "You didn't do anything," I said. "That's the problem. For 12 years you haven't done anything." The color drained from his face. He set down the milk carton and really looked at me for the first time in, God, I couldn't remember how long. "Mom, you can't be serious. I'm your son." "That's exactly why I'm doing this," I said. "Because you're my son, and I love you too much to watch you disappear completely." The next 30 days were the hardest of my life. He went through every stage: anger, bargaining, depression. He called me names I'd never heard him use before. He slammed doors. He brought friends over to try to talk me out of it. He even had his ex-wife call me, which was rich considering she'd left him for the same reasons I was evicting him. But I held firm. I had to. Every time I wavered, I looked at that basement door and imagined him down there at 50, at 60, at 70, growing old in my house, never knowing what he was capable of. On moving day, he barely spoke to me, just packed his things into garbage bags and cardboard boxes. The basement looked so empty afterwards, but it also looked clean for the first time in years. I opened the windows and let fresh air flow through. That first week without him was terrifying. The house felt too quiet. I kept waiting for those familiar footsteps, for the sound of the refrigerator opening. I wondered if I'd made a terrible mistake. What if he ended up on the streets? What if something happened to him? But then, 3 weeks later, he called me. "Mom?" His voice sounded different, cleaner somehow. "David?" My heart jumped. "I got a job," he said. "It's just part-time at a warehouse, but it's something, and I found a room I can afford. It's small, but it's mine." I started crying right there on the phone. "I'm proud of you." "Mom, I was angry at you, really angry, but my roommate, he's this guy who got sober a few years back, and he told me something that made sense. He said sometimes the people who love us most have to hurt us to save us." 6 months later, David got promoted to full-time. 8 months after that, he moved into his own apartment. A year later, he started dating a woman from his work who didn't know anything about basements or failed promises. She just knew him as David, the guy with his own place and his own paycheck. 2 years after I evicted him, he brought her to dinner at my house. They sat at my kitchen table, and she complimented the meal I'd cooked. David looked around my clean, bright home and said, "Mom, this place looks great. It feels lighter somehow." After dinner, he helped me with the dishes, something he'd never done when he lived here. As we worked, he said quietly, "I hated you for a while, you know." "I know," I said, "but I understand now. I was dying down there, wasn't I?" I nodded, my eyes filling up again. We both were. Last month, David called to tell me he'd proposed to his girlfriend. They're planning a small wedding next spring. He asked if he could have the reception in my backyard, and I said yes. Yesterday, Sarah, his daughter, came to visit me. She's in college now, studying to be a teacher. As she was leaving, she hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for saving my dad, Grandma. I know it wasn't easy. I'm 82 years old. My hands still shake when I pour coffee. My knees still creak when I climb stairs, but I sleep better now. The house feels like home again instead of a hiding place." Sometimes love isn't about saying yes. Sometimes love is about saying no, even when it breaks your heart to do it. Especially then. If you have someone in your life who's drowning in comfort, who's dying slowly in your kindness, maybe the most loving thing you can do is stop throwing them life preservers and teach them how to swim. It might be the hardest thing you ever do, but it might also be the best thing you ever do for both of you.